Hey, so this video is about processes. These are critical to running any sort of business, but this video is really going to be focused on running small businesses. If you're a one-man shop or you run a small agency or whatever it is, there are so many tools you might be using already, but there's so many ways to sort of really improve things, and people starting out don't always know about these tools, and I'm here to sort of explain this. For me as well, a few years ago, these were new concepts to me, so I'm creating this video for sort of the me of, let's say, 5-10 years ago. A bit about my background and why you should listen to me maybe is because I ran a 7-figure agency in the past. Still sort of do. Processes are critical to sort of running that business, giving you as much time back as possible. There's always tasks you're doing again and again and again, and having good processes in place will make it so much easier to run the business. The other thing I'll mention is that even for like big startups, it can work. So I was a freelancer a few years ago for a startup that basically I was brought on to write some code. I was the only developer in the company, basically acting as a CTO for them. And we were writing code, we were doing things, and there were just way more efficient ways to go and do things with a whole bunch of no-code tools. And at a certain point, we sort of just stopped writing code. We moved to the no-code tools. But the end point of the story is this company actually went on to raise $100 million, like not that long afterwards. And you might think, oh, you need like crazy tech to go and do that. Well, we didn't have the crazy tech to do this. And we were just using so many out-the-box tools that you can use, tools that I'm going to cover in this video that you probably have heard of, like Airtable and Notion and sort of a bunch of others. Those were tools that we were running the business on. So don't think you have to go code everything. There are you can do a ton with these different tools out there. As a whole, no-code tools, go to a place like MakerPad, learn about them. Highly encourage you to do that. Zapier, another huge one. It is worth learning. But let's dive into the video. So processes, they're here to help us streamline operations and increase efficiency and reduce errors. They're used for tasks that keep repeating themselves. We're going to cover a few examples here. But these tasks, they keep coming up, and instead of sort of reinventing the wheel every time, okay, I got to do this, oh, what was the next task I have to do? I can't remember, I've lost focus, now I'm going to go sort of procrastinate doing something else. So these processes that you can just write down for yourself, they will make you so much more efficient when running a business. Once you have a process in place, then there are a few ways to handle it. One, you can sort of just do the process yourself. It can be faster for you, less error prone. You can write notes about what steps you might have forgotten in the past and what not to do and so on. You can also automate the steps, so you can use no-code tools, or you could write code to automate them as well. The last thing you could do is outsource it to someone else. So once a process has been written down, it's very easy to pass it on to someone else. Maybe you've hired someone sort of on Upwork, Fiverr, wherever it is. Maybe you have a full-time VA. But once you figured out a way to do this efficiently yourself, you'd be like, wow, even sort of a robot can do it. And sort of let's see how can we automate this basically. So it could be an actual robot and code doing it, or it could be someone else that earns is a much lower cost than sort of your time. And this is a way how you can really sort of scale yourself and your business. Let's talk about an example process. So this is one that I've taken from my agency, where we used to hire out a lot of developers, and every single time we'd go through the same steps with a client, and we had to sign a contract with them. So that can be like, okay, I'll send an email to my lawyer, get me the contract, and do this, and multiple steps afterwards. But I've written down here a process that can help us manage that more effectively. So one, I have a contracts page on Notion. I'm going to go to that and find what the steps are for me. Two, I'm going to click the link that the process might have a link over here. Maybe this is the process, and it goes to Google Drive, and let's call it contracts or whatever. Just make that up. I click it, and it gets me the contract I need. Then after that, I need to go and edit the parameters. So I'll change the company name, the price, and so on. There might be additional edits. Maybe we agreed on different terms in this contract. There might be a bit of back and forth, by the way. I don't have this here, but there might be back and forth. So first you maybe send the Google Doc over, they can adjust it, and then we follow on with the other steps later. But let's say for now, we're just going to directly send them the contract. So next, I'm going to export it as PDF. I'm going to upload it to PandaDoc. This is a free service to sort of send out contracts that other document signing platforms as well you could use, like HelloSign and a bunch of others. DocuSign as well. Next, we're going to add the blank spots within this contract as to who, like the company name and so on, or whatever it might be. We'll sort of add, or the signature that they have to go and sign. Then we're going to sign it ourselves, and then we're going to click send and send over the contract. So these are the steps. In reality, it might be a bit different for you and whatever it is. But just having these steps written down, now the next time I have to send a contract, this process will probably take me about 5 minutes because I've set things up well. I already have a contracts folder and so on, and I know exactly what to do, and click, and sort of it's done. And you could probably pass this on to someone else pretty easily. Now, if you're running a business, contracts are an annoying part of things. It's not always so smooth. So just making it as smooth as possible, and like knowing like sort of how you're managing this. Maybe you even have steps where you're updating the CRM, that you update like a status from like sent contract, signed contract, and so on. So all that sort of stuff you can have. Now let's think about a process and how we can maybe improve it. So just having it is great. Now I can outsource it, I can do it more effectively myself, make fewer mistakes. But where could we maybe improve things? So PandaDoc, let's say, will let you have templates. So instead of me having to go through Google Drive, upload to PandaDoc and so on, maybe I use their template feature. This is a paid feature, so maybe I don't want to do it. Maybe I don't want to pay the $50 a month or whatever it costs. And I prefer to use my my process that I've set up here. But it's worth being aware of like sort of how much your time is worth. And if you're doing 10 contracts a month and you value your time at $200 an hour or whatever it is, it's very much worth paying the $50 a month for this service to make it more efficient for you. 2, we might have templates for different use cases. So it might be one type of client is sort of a monthly contract, another is an hourly, and so on. 3, maybe we can get the client to fill in their own details. This is sort of already probably going to happen if it is a template, and maybe even in your own like document that you have here. Maybe you don't need to sort of have this step of adjust contract parameters. Maybe it's sort of just done automatically, or the client does it. Maybe you can skip the PDF export step. Well, if we're going straight to PandaDoc and we have a template, then yeah, we can probably do that. Maybe we can just paste in a Google Drive link. So maybe there's something we can cut out over there. And the last thing, which is really cool, maybe we can just automate the entire thing. So I'm going to show you a tool called Zapier. You might have heard of it. Very common no-code tool, and it sort of glues everything together. The sort of thing it does, it looks something like this, where you basically have a trigger, and then you have an action as well. So for example, I committed something on GitHub, or sort of I let's say I added a document on Google Drive. The next action, I want it automatically to send an email to someone else. So let's see that in practice. You can type in any 2 apps, by the way, and connect them on Zapier. So here I've gone and Googled, how do I connect Airtable and PandaDoc in Zapier? What that allows you to do is basically when one action happens here, either an Airtable action or a PandaDoc action, you can basically go and do something automatically on the other side. So for example, when we have a new or updated record, let's say we have a new client that is updated, and we now have them in the signing contract phase. Now automatically we're going to go and create a document in PandaDoc with everything ready for us. And so obviously that's really cool, because now instead of doing all these steps, I might have a PandaDoc like this where I have a phase which is signing contract, and as soon as the signing contract phase happens, it automatically sends the contract to them, and then the next phase maybe is signed contract. Once it's been signed, this gets updated to signed. Maybe even that signed contract step is updated. Now, what's important to be wary of here is that you don't want to over-optimize necessarily. This is really cool if you're doing like hundreds of contracts and like you're really spending a lot of time on it each month, or someone in your company is. Like just being able to sort of click this and turn it like just automatically send an email by going from like negotiating to like signing a contract. That's awesome. You might have another field here where it has like the amount you agreed, like $100 an hour for the developer or whatever it is. But at the same time, it might be slightly too complicated to go set it up. And like, how much time is it going to save you every month? So that's an important question to ask yourself. And how much time will it take to set it up, and things break and so on, and then for you to fix it? And it might just be easier for you to go through these steps. So any task you do, there are always going to be pros and cons. Should you automate it? Should you not? if, you know, it only takes you 5 minutes a week to do anyway, then just sort of go and do it how you're doing it. Don't overthink things. But there are a lot of ways you can make your life a lot more efficient. Think to yourself, where is there time that where am I spending a lot of time? Where do I keep repeating myself? At the very least, if you keep doing the same tasks again and again and again, just like have like a sort of a checklist for yourself. This could even be on Notion, by the way. So we could do something like this. How do I do this? Turn into like checkbox, where I could even each time to-do list, let's say. So each time I like have done a step, I do this, and then next time I need to do this, I'll just sort of like copy and paste it or duplicate the page or whatever it is, and I'll sort of go through it all over again. So that's one thing to keep in mind. There's also, by the way, sites that do that for you. So something like Process Street, this whole flow that we describe, it will go and do it for you. Here you can see like you do these checks, and part of these steps, it could be sending it to 10 different people in the company, for example. So it could be like, here, assign it to Patrick, then this is the onboarding lead, this is HR director. It sends the 10 different tasks to lots of different people. You're probably not going to need that as a small business, but sort of as your business grows, this can be really helpful. A tool like this, there's pros and cons to using it. Here I see it's $100 a month to use it. That's really like sort of quite pricey, or $1,000 a year. You might not want to be spending those amounts. If you paid for every SaaS tool out there, you'd be paying $10,000 a year, and your business might not be making that, especially at the get-go. So there's pros and cons to what tools you should use and so on. It's definitely worth thinking about things either way, about how you can sort of most effectively run things. Just as we get to the end of the video, sort of something developers like to say is premature optimization is the root of all evil. So don't like overthink things when you're creating your processes or even your databases or no-code tools. Here, sort of I have a demo database set up. It only has a few fields in it. I might sort of add more fields later on. And this might sort of like one that we mentioned, we added a few here, but I might be doing sort of like a currency, and I might have like hourly rate. And there's no problem sort of like adding these as they come up. You might not have any hourly rate contracts at the beginning. Maybe it's only fixed price, and then you sort of add hourly rate, and this sort of becomes sort of like $100 an hour, and so on, or like whatever. So you can always sort of add fields, and you can always sort of add these tools like Zapier later. But yeah, it's a good thing to keep in mind. Premature optimization is the root of all evil. Developers will say it. Developers love to prematurely optimize. Yeah, think about what you're doing. And then do things that don't scale. So it's completely okay to sort of do things manually, as we mentioned as well, and improve along the way. So that's the end of the video. I hope you got something from it. If you want, by the way, anyone watching this video, I'm happy to do a 15-minute free consultation. Usually something like this would be like sort of worth over $100 in terms of the value of my time. If you want it, DM me on Twitter. I'm Ellie with ELIE and 4 2s at the end. I'll leave a link in the description. This offer won't be open indefinitely, but more than happy to sort of take a look at your business on a 15 to 30 minute call, see what we can improve, ask you what's taking your time, how can we maybe do things better. Maybe you're not aware of all the tools, so happy to go and do that. It's not a service I will offer indefinitely. And yeah, other than that, hope you learned something from it. Like in Airtable, like sort of so many things you can do here. You can sort of see a setup I have where this is a view of people I follow up with, and now that I've sort of followed up with Bill Gates, I can sort of mark that as done, and I can get to inbox 0. So this maybe is like, I don't know if I'd call it a process, but there are ways across the board where whatever you're doing already, you can go and improve, and it will help you a lot running your business. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, and I'll be doing more videos like this in the future.